to all of our listeners to Team Awesomism podcast. And thank you, Brandon Hodde, for allowing us to use your songs, not only for our podcast, but the Virtual Academy. We really appreciate it. So today we are having as our guest one of my favorite people. I just told him, and I stand by this, if I had a nickel for every time I brought his name up with somebody, either through social media or in real life, he'd be a billionaire. He'd never have to work again. I heard him in Dubai. He was a fellow speaker at the ICAN Dubai at the end of April, beginning of May. And his speech was so amazing that when I get really happy or really frustrated, I cry. And I was crying because I was so happy. Like, I thought, this man needs to be heard everywhere in the world, and I need to get a megaphone and just stand on my rooftop and scream that people need to hear this guy. So I am with such honor, so excited to introduce you to Tom Iland, who has this video about Be Safe Teaching Edition. And I'm going to tell you something. If you are in the police department, you're related to somebody in the police department, in any emergency services, anything, please share his name. We need more police departments in America, well, actually all over the world, but in America, and EMTs and prison systems and everywhere else, and prosecutors and defense attorneys to know Tom Iland. We need to make him a household name, and I mean that. And he has this amazing book, okay, Come to Life, Your Guide to Self-Discovery. But he's got even more exciting news. So with that ado, tell us about yourself, Tom.
Thank you very much for having me on today. It's a pleasure to be here with you both. I'm Tom Iland. I'm based in Los Angeles, California. I'm 39 years old and I'm on the autism spectrum. I grew up wanting to be George Lucas's accountant because I love Star Wars and I'm good with numbers, and actually became a certified public accountant in California and worked in the accounting field for about 7 years, starting with the Walt Disney Company right out of college doing property taxes. And after I left the company, Disney actually acquired Lucasfilm. So the way I see it, kind of retroactively and indirectly, I was George Lucas's accountant and felt like I reached my goals. But I really dreaded going to a desk and sitting there crunching numbers all day. So 7 years ago, I decided to take up public speaking and tell my story and share what I know with others so that they can become their best selves. And I wrote that book, Come to Life. It's also the basis for a business I have called Come to Life Coaching, because it's my philosophy that life doesn't come to you. It's up to you to come to life. And more people, I think, on and off the autism spectrum need to hear that. And after that book, I'm realizing, particularly in this post-COVID-19 world that we're living in, we've had the opportunity and still have the opportunity to evaluate our mental health and our situations and the people that we have in our life to determine whether or not they're helping or hurting us. So I've just written another book, just came out yesterday officially in major sellers and stores. My Glass is Full, Stories of Putting Mental Health First, where I share some of my stories of energy vampires, toxic people, those that were seemingly like they had good intentions or like I maybe could be a good part of their life, but ultimately I decided that my well-being had to come first. And I did what I had to do given those circumstances.
I love it. And you are exactly right. And I think we've all had those people in our life, you know, and sometimes you think, oh, this is an amazing human. And then they start telling you, you know, well, because of you, you know, this has happened to me, or because of you, you know, I have, you know, negative things happening. My boss or my friends or my family thinks this of me now, and I have egg on my face because of you. And you look at it and you think to yourself, okay, I'm a bad person because they wouldn't say that to me if I wasn't. And so you go home and you reevaluate yourself. And then you start thinking, or you should start thinking, well, wait a minute. They have the opportunity to walk away from you if you're that bad person, instead of telling you what a bad person you are. Or if you're so wrong, why are other people judging them based on you? And that's what I've always tried to tell my children. You know, I have a really dear friend who's been in my life for 42 years, and he always says to me, don't let somebody else's words define you. They don't know what you think when you get up in the morning. They don't know what you think when you go to bed at night. They don't know what's in your heart. They don't know how you love your children differently than anyone else understands. You know, he said, don't let them define you, because when they do, you start believing that definition and you become that definition. And I love that you have this book. I think everybody needs to run out, get a copy of it. And, you know, again, I will go back to this. Your speech in Dubai was just so on point about what you live, what you believe, what you feel. And that engaged me. And so if your speech, and I mean this because it was really on, you know, law enforcement and autistic adults, if your speech engaged me that much on a topic that is important to me, but not as important as mental health, if that makes sense, I can't even imagine how amazing this book is, because this one is phenomenal. So I can't even imagine. I'm so excited about this book. I really want to help you get it out there, because I think it's something we all need. And I hope that by you sharing your story and you doing what you're doing, you really can help others, because I'm sure you will.
And something I'm doing with this book, I've been looking to broaden my horizons a little bit, or go beyond the pond, as I like to call it, instead of being in the small body of water that's the autism community. How can I help others with mental health matters? Kind of like going from a pond to a lake, and then that would go onto bigger waters, like go from a lake to a sea, and then eventually I'll be out in the ocean from the sea and going into uncharted territory. But I really want to have my messages and my stories and what I have to share benefit more and more people. So I think casting a much wider net is something that I've done. And when I took up public speaking, I'll give you and your listeners one of my big golden nuggets. I joined the Toastmasters International organization. It's a not-for-profit organization that helps improve your public speaking and your leadership and your communication skills. And I became one of only 90 Toastmasters accredited speakers in the world. These are people that have mastered the art of public speaking and apply it to a particular trade or line of work. So it took a lot of practice, a lot of applications, and ultimately speaking in front of 1,000 people at a convention for me to get that designation. But it's a testament that someone with a social communication disorder like autism can master the art of public speaking, which is essentially socializing and communicating. So that's one of the reasons, or some of the reasons, why I spoke the way I did in Dubai. And I'm pleased to report that ICAN, or Autism Connect, has invited me to be the closing keynote at their next conference in Tanzania in December.
Wonderful. Yeah, we were invited to speak. We're not going because of the timing in December. And you know, I wish I could, but we have too many things. December is a very, because my family, I have 3 older children, older than Peyton, and they're all placed in different areas. So December is kind of our time as family, because it's the holiday month, to come together. And it just would be too much for me to go elsewhere and then try, because, you know, this is something a lot of people didn't know. As when I was in Dubai, I came home, and 3 weeks after, just 3 weeks after I came home from Dubai, we closed on our home in Texas and hit the road to travel for autism. So that was really overwhelming to me, trying to get ready for that, trying to move. And I thought, I can't do that again. So I'm so excited, on one hand, that you are the closing keynote. I am so upset, on the other hand, that I will not be there for that closing keynote, because I think what you have to share is just so important. And I love that. Listen, I love that you are branching out outside of just the autism community, because I think autistic adults are very misunderstood. We've been on this, over 2 month venture, if you want to call it, through the heartland of America. And we've been talking to autistic adults, people in the autism community that support it, their families, everybody. Okay. And we wear our Team Awesomism shirts, and people will come up to us in restaurants. They'll come up to us in grocery stores. We've literally had 18-wheelers pull up next to us, hang out the window like this at us because they read it on the back of our car. And we were getting out of the car in South Dakota at the falls, and in Sioux Falls, and this lady's taking pictures, and she says, "Is that your car?" Oh, and all these people come up to us, start sharing their autism stories. And but the number one thing that we heard, all these different people we spoke with, was the same one thing was rung true with everybody. People don't understand autism, and we're not all Rain Man. If I heard that once, I heard that 100 times.
Oh.
And I think people, you getting out there and talking and expanding outside of the autism and talking into the mental health and stuff is such a clear, word to other people. You're not all Rain Man. You are a spectrum. You guys are on this spectrum. And I think it's just amazing what you're doing and how you're doing it. And I love that you're writing books. I love that you're going on podcasts. I love seeing your videos on Instagram. I love Rosetta. Like, I love her. Okay. You guys are just doing so much. And I just feel like that's what's needed within the autism community. I have told Peyton since he was little, he didn't have autism, he had awesomism, that God made him the awesome one. And he was going to go through life, because I knew life was going to be tough enough for him, that I wanted him to embrace that I'm awesome. And I always told him, look, if other people don't see your awesomeness, that's on them. You're not missing out on them. They're missing out on you. And I just think what you're doing is so amazing. And, not to drag the podcast down, but I really want to get your book for a family that just lost their autistic child. And this is a very difficult, they literally yesterday, we found out this is one of Peyton's best friends, died suddenly. Amanda. And yeah, it was very difficult. I have to say, I was angry first. Like, why her? She was a little ray of sunshine in a dark world, and then I talked to a friend of mine today who's very strong in his Jewish faith. And I said to him, I'm angry. I have to tell you this. I'm angry. I was born and raised in a very Christian home and went to Christian schools, but I'm angry. And he said, you should look at it as she did her work on this earth, was done. She spread that love. She spread that sunshine. And now she loves to sing. Now she's singing all the time. Yeah. And I thought, that's beautiful. But now the parents are left. The friends are left. And I think your book would be wonderful for this group of Peyton's friends, because I think they need this positivity. They need to understand, because it's so easy to go wallow into the negative, but we need to pull ourselves out to the positive and use every experience into a positive way.
Agreed. I think there's always some kind of lesson, some kind of learning experience that can come from all of our hardships, our failures, our rejections, because that's what makes us grow and ultimately evolve as human beings, when we learn from our mistakes and go forward. And if whenever possible, learn from other people's mistakes too. Yes. Then we put ourselves in a better position for a better life and a better humanity.
I agree. I completely agree.
Amen to that.
Yeah. And exactly. And I also think too, that a lot of times, if people would reflect more, not just on their own negatives, but they're positives, and let that positive shine through. It's kind of an example for other people. Do you know what I mean?
Yes, I do. And it's sometimes it takes just that one person who says, I see something in you, or even brings up something that the person didn't even know was there themselves. It can be like a switch going off.
I agree. I know, I agree with you. I completely. I mean, I had someone say to me the other day about something with Peyton, because the hotel we're staying at they do a evening social hour for appetizers and stuff. And so we go down, it's 3 days a week, and so we go down. And one of the older women said to me, you said that your son was autistic, and I saw you guys wore some of the shirts and blah, blah, blah. And she said, can I ask you something? And I was kind of afraid to ask anybody this, but I think my granddaughter's on the spectrum. And she was so afraid to approach it with her. Okay. But seeing Peyton and seeing the way that we just kind of flowed and weren't embarrassed and just kind of wore it as a badge of honor that Peyton is autistic and that we're out to help autistic adults, it got her the strength to come up to me and spend some time with me and talk to me about how to approach her granddaughter, how to maybe help her. And I thought, wow, I didn't realize that we were like kind of exuding positivity on the autism. So I think I agree. And I really would like to put your book on our website. Peyton will be the one to do it because he adds it all there.
Yeah, I'll do that.
And I would really like to, promote it, because I think, if it's even half as good as this one, we're in for a treat.
I'm so grateful that you feel that way and that you're willing and able to do that. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. I mean, I think that the more that autistic adults like you are seen and heard, not just seen, but heard and valued, the more we take the stigma away from autism and we stop treating it as if it's an arm's length away from us rather than in a circle around us.
Yes.
I was on it was kind of I guess it was a live event the other day. And there was a teacher who goes around and talks about special needs and stuff, right? He's like a teacher coach. And he said, anybody have any questions? And nobody asked. So I just asked the question because it was something that I had started thinking about. And I said, do you think that we need to work with teachers more? Because one of the things that I hear from parents of younger children is, I got called by school today. I got called by school today because my child, got sent home, this, that, and the other thing. And 9 times out of 10, when they speak to their child, it's because someone in the classroom was poking them, was harassing them, was something. And so the child has a meltdown, right? Okay. So the first response, not all teachers, but some teachers, is to remove that child from the classroom. And I asked this guy, I said, do you think we are subconsciously teaching the other children in that classroom that we need to remove autistics from our society, that they have to have their own society over here because they may have a meltdown, they may look at life different? And he kind of sat back and said, I didn't think about that, but you're right, that is something to explore. And I said, because we constantly our brain is constantly taking in subtle hints as much as actual things that are told to us. And if we're teaching these kids in the classroom, okay, Johnny had a meltdown, Johnny needs to leave, are we teaching them that Johnny shouldn't be in their workplace when they're older because Johnny might have a meltdown and Johnny shouldn't be there? Are we correlating that? And he wanted to talk to me after the live, and he did. And he said, Well, you gave me something to think about. And the whole reason why I thought about that was because on our road trip, I constantly hear stories of, I don't feel like I fit in. I don't feel like anybody understands me. And the one that hit me the hardest of all of it was we were in Orange City, Iowa, and we were at a bakery, and the girl there told me that her autistic brother told her he was going to commit suicide when their mom died because he didn't feel society accepted him or understood him. And that tore my heart in every direction it could tear.
So heartbreaking.
It really was.
I really hate to see that.
And so we heard other stories that were equally hurtful. And I thought, we've got to change the dialogue. We've got to change the perception, the thought process. You know, John Q. Public doesn't need to be the spokesperson for autism. Tom Iland and Peyton White need to be, because you're autistic. You change the perception, you change the dialogue. And that's why I believe you speaking and writing books and doing your TikTok Tuesdays and your Instagrams and seeing beautiful Rosetta. This is everything to me. I love it.
And spoiler alert, one of the big morals of the story of My Glass is Full is that you need to tell your story, because too many people are holding it in, keeping it hidden instead of letting it out. And I really believe that when we talk about the issues at hand, as difficult as the conversation may be, the most difficult conversations are also the most necessary. And when that includes, giving that Johnny example you had, cluing in the peers is the true definition of inclusion. You really want Johnny to be part of the group, you need to tell the peers what's going on, and rather than think of Johnny as the bad guy. And because these young people, like you were saying, they're going to grow up, they're going to become adults, and if they still continue to be ostracized, then yes, they could very well grow up continuing to be misunderstood. And I think I read online the other day that a large portion of the population, the autism population that is, do not make it past 38 years of age because they have chosen to end their lives.
Oh, I see. That just, oh.
And I'm terribly sorry that that statistic is out there, but that is the sad and unfortunate reality that a lot of us live. And why I'm emphasizing the importance of mental health and mental strength to go through life and all the punches that it may throw at us so that we can be stronger and in some cases fight back.
Yeah.
Yes,
exactly.
absolutely.
Exactly. And oh my goodness, that's a gut punch, you know, and oh, God bless you, Tom. You just, I remember listening to you and sitting in the chair thinking, okay, why is this man not on my TV? Why is this? And did I not make a beeline for you immediately? Like I came up to, hi, blah, 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 blah. Like I was like, you were kind of like, oh my goodness, this woman's, you know, crazy. Cause I was like, boom, on you. Because I was like, oh my gosh, this guy is everything. Like, you know, and when I really am passionate about something, which I'm very passionate about, turning autism into awesomism for as many autistic adults and their families as I can. People like you, I see as the ingredient for that awesomism. And that's why I will do whatever I can to help you, because I believe you and others like you are the reason why things will change. And you're right on that inclusion. You know, you're right. And I got verified the other day on Flipboard, and I was beyond ecstatic because Flipboard is my favorite app. It really is.
Awesome is that? I'm so proud of you, Mom. Way to go.
Thank you. I really am, because you know, Flipboard has several 100 million readers every month. People go more to it for reading than they do anything else, but I'm a major curator, and almost everything I do revolves around autism, because I feel like if someone comes on here for a recipe, they may now see Tom Iland on my podcast talking about how they can help the autism world. And for Flipboard to verify me means everything, because I know Mike and Marcy McHugh, the founders of Flipboard, are very, very engaged in supporting autism. So that means everything to me. It does. And I think together we're stronger. It's not about each of us being bigger. It's about each of us working together.
Absolutely. And I think that's unfortunately one of the flaws in the autism/autistic community, whether it's the battle of identity first language versus person first language and functioning labels and, oh, that's your problem, let me focus on me. All these like kind of infighting, when really we do share a lot of the common struggles, and pooling our resources rather than shutting people out, I think is the better solution that will ultimately lead to better outcomes.
Oh, I completely agree. I completely agree with you. In fact, when I was at ICAN, someone came up to me and said, "Are you not like getting really inspired?" I said, "Yeah, like really inspired." And they said, "I was ready to just throw in the towel and walk away, because I felt like I was really kind of singing, in the rain and no one was listening to me." He said, "It was just, I felt like I just was in an echo chamber." And he said, "And coming here and hearing all these different individuals and hearing different people like you," he said, "really re-inspired me." And I love that. I love that. And I think ICAN is doing, I think Dolly did a phenomenal job. And I love that she's continuing to bring it out there. And even though I'm not going, I'm going to promote it. On the 22nd of this month, I'm actually doing a live with Autism Connect, which is, the main of ICAN, and talking about autistic adults in the workplace, because that's what we focus on for the Academy. And, we have to, I feel like we have to unite together instead of try to outdo each other.
And each and every one of us has our own stories, recipes, secrets, whatever you might want to call it. And like I said, by making it known, like this worked for me, maybe it will work for you too.
Right.
And I think that I saw something along the lines of like your story, your experience could very well be put into somebody's survival guide, or their not just survive, but thrive guide.
Right. That's beautiful. Yeah, you're right. You're right. Well, that's why, like, Peyton taught himself to read. We did everything we could. He never didn't learn to read. And the therapist said to me, "Well, he's probably never going to read." And how Peyton taught himself to read was he put the closed captioning on the TV and would watch cartoons, and he taught himself. So
I watch shows with subtitles too. It helps with song lyrics in particular, somebody with a thick accent or something.
Yes, exactly. And so I share that with people. I'm like, maybe that doesn't work for you, but maybe if it does, or maybe someone it helps. Every single tip and conversation we can have may just be the change in someone's life. That's why we have like the light bulb on our logo, is because we want to turn on the positivity. We want to make that change, brighten the world for autistics.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And I can definitely see you two doing that. I think it's incredible the work that you do and the impact that you're having. It clearly shows.
We appreciate it. And we loved having you on here today. And if you can just send Peyton the link for your book, we'll put it, I'll send it everywhere. I will put it in our next newsletter. And I'm going to tell you on this, we haven't announced it yet. So when the podcast comes out, anybody that listens to podcasts is going to hear it before everybody else. We met a wonderful group in ICAN Dubai. I'm telling you, that was like the shebang of everything. Okay. And they are building us an app for the virtual academy for our teammates program. And the autistic adults are going to have their own voice. They can have a podcast on there. We're going to put your books on there. We're going to do everything on that app. So people will be able to go to the app and really see autistic adults shine.
Pretty cool, isn't it?
Lovely.
Yeah.
It's wonderful.
Yeah, we were super excited about it because it basically, the sky's the limit. We want to really give autistic adults a voice.
As well, they should have one and use it.
Yes, I agree. Thank you so much for coming on. We love it. Please, please, I'm serious. If you need anything, reach out to us. I want to help you in any way I can. I think you already know, and I think I told you this in Dubai months ago, that you're one of my favorite people. So anything we can do. And again, thank you so much for coming on.
Keep up with the great work, Tom Iland.
My pleasure. I'll send you the links to my glasses full.
Sweet.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Tom Iland.
Stay safe.
You too.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.